Following a hikikomori based in Japan, Shaking Tokyo is ultimately a social commentary on human connection. While watching this movie, we were unable to help but notice the striking lighting and cinematography techniques, as well as color schemes that were heavily utilized throughout the film to drive the narrative. This had us wondering in what ways had these elements aided in furthering the plot of this movie. At the start of the movie, we are greeted with a warm tone shot of the protagonist in his home. The house feels warm and cozy. Sunlight in his house is gentle, soft, and warm. It's nice to look at. Now contrast this to the scene of him outside, where sunlight is blindingly bright and uncomfortable. The sun is so bright that even his hand is useless in blocking out light. There's also this scene, where he steps out for the first time in 11 years, and everything looks extremely overexposed and blinding. It feels almost dreamlike, and symbolizes the overwhelming and unfamiliar nature of the outside world. The strain of looking at the overexposed blinding light also makes us want to look away immediately. In the same way, our protagonist wants to get away as quickly as possible from the outside world and return to his house, and we can understand that from this contrast in scenes. We understand that being outside is extremely uncomfortable and unfamiliar for him. Here, lighting has helped us unknowingly empathize with him better. From this, we can tell that the man's house is where his comfort zone is. It's dim and warm-toned. We can feel how calm and cozy it is. Compared to the later shots, which are much more cool-toned, there's a distinct difference as the cool tones make us feel cold and sad. We no longer feel safe and warm. This follows the emotional journey of our protagonist as he steps out of his comfort zone. As he gets more distressed, the scenes turn cooler. This contrast in color lighting sets the moods as the movie plays, highlighting the man's emotions and distress through his journey of finding human connection. Lastly, lighting is used throughout this movie to frame and highlight important movements in the movie. In this scene, light is shown on a pizza box lid as it slowly closes, drawing our focus and allowing us to understand the relationship the man has with time. In another scene, light shining on their faces subtly highlights their facial expressions. It feels intimate as you realize their close face-to-face proximity. In this scene, it allows us to feel a change as he starts to form a connection to this girl lying on the floor of his living room. We can feel this connection being formed through the use of lighting, as it is the first time we see the protagonist and someone else's face being in the focus of the scene. Such use of lighting helps emphasize points the movie makes throughout, and helps drive the story it is trying to tell. Overall, we can see how director Bong Joon-ho has utilized lighting to enhance the film's narrative and storytelling. Camera work and cinematography is one of Bong Joon-ho's best areas of work. We can see examples of that in this film. At the beginning of the film, a continuous single shot was used to depict the protagonist's daily routine, possibly to signify the inexorable yet mundane trudge of time in his life. The use of changing focal points throughout the film highlights the protagonist's lonely lifestyle, and his isolation and solitude is especially prominent in this scene, where the frame slowly zooms out to show the literal wall of pizza boxes which he had single-handedly accumulated over the 11 years of his hikikomori lifestyle. Furthermore, the lingering white shots and plot in the scene strikingly demonstrates the social isolation the protagonist experiences. Interestingly, so do the close-up shots. They give us an intimate insight into the protagonist's emotions, his vacant expressions, his reluctance to make eye contact, even in a street full of people, once again elucidating the fact that the protagonist is one that consciously chooses to withdraw from any extent of socialization, even in the most crowded of places. Gradually though, the consistent use of close-up shots brings us through the protagonist's character development arc, as we're able to see how his emotions change with respect to social interaction. Initially, close-ups of the protagonist's face shows us how he wouldn't even make eye contact with any person from the outside world. Yet the catalyst was the moment when the delivery girl first stepped into his house, and she fainted. Viewers observe how he uncomfortably and reluctantly looks at her to check if she's doing okay. By the end of the film, perhaps all consumed by his mission to save the delivery girl from a similar hikikomori lifestyle, he decisively makes eye contact with her, perhaps signifying that he had overcome his social anxiety and even his preference for social isolation, just to ensure the well-being of the delivery girl, who he has fallen in love with. I have to agree, the house is pretty perfect. With the colour palette overall being very warm and in some tones minimalistic, the aesthetic brown tones create an inviting atmosphere, demonstrating the comfort the protagonist feels when he is at home. White is also a defining colour in Shaking Tokyo. Our protagonists and other hikikomori are clothed in pristine white throughout the entire film, but there are instances where a streak of colour catches our eye. Among the dull yellows and muted blues of the house, the girl wearing a bright red shirt definitely stands out. It is not only her shirt that carries this colour, but also the astounding wall of pizza boxes, both of which come from a world existing outside his house, a world of interaction. Red is not the only striking colour observed. There is also an awe-inspiring scene of green. They are both strong and bold shades, but they hold a role much more important than the visual appeal to you or me. Our protagonist lived in a world of beige and white, and perhaps he would have continued to do so if the delivery girl wearing red had never stepped into his house. She was his bridge to the outside world, where vibrant colours signified unfamiliarity but freshness. In all, we can observe how lighting, camera work and colour scheme help drive the human connection narrative in Shaking Tokyo, and subtly demonstrates the gradual character development of the protagonist. Bong Joon-ho's masterful weaving of these elements show how important the intricate elements of a film are. Most of us don't even realize it, but without them, the film would feel like a completely different one. Thank you!